listening to Pop This, the podcast where three women talk about pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen, Andrea Gin, and Andrea Warner.
So I'm actually gonna go away next week for a couple of days on a just a personal, there's no work involved in my going away. I know I'm going away just to see a friend, and I'm traveling all the way to Kelowna.
Ooh.
And we're gonna be gone for 3 full days.
All the way to the Okanagan.
Yeah.
Are you prepared mentally?
Well, no. But the friend that I'm meeting, she and I have, because she's flying from Halifax to Prince George, going to a wedding, and then we're meeting in Kelowna. She was gonna come all the way to Vancouver, and I was like, no, you can't drive that far. That's wild. I'll come meet you, and we decided on Kelowna. So she and I both talked about kind of our intense anxiety.
About post-pandemic or pre or in or whatever?
It's just traveling in the pandemic and not, and not wanting, and our COVID anxiety and stuff, because neither of us have had it, and we're not that interested in getting it, obviously, because Lisa, you're still dealing with the ramifications of, my sister had long COVID or has long COVID, et cetera. And so I've just avoided it so far. And this is the first trip that I'm taking that's just a choice, not a work sort of situation. And so we're trying to plan it as safely as possible. We're, she's going to bring tests so that she can take them after the wedding weekend and stuff, and just try and make sure she's fine. We've got tests that we can bring. We're going to plan to be outdoors for our hangouts and our meals and stuff, and wine tastings, etc. And it's, it's just a few days and stuff, but already I have also agreed to meet up with a couple of people who I haven't met before, who I work with in Kelowna. And we're going to meet on the patio of the hotel that I'm staying at to have a drink. And so it's I've already added 3 extra people to the mix of randoms I'm spending time with in situations. And it just feels like wow. What am I even doing?
Wow. Eventually you were going to have to come out of your shell. Eventually.
No, I know. And I get that. I get that. And it was fine when I was doing it for work. When I had to go to Toronto and Los Angeles and stuff, I just made the most of it. But it just, and it's fine. I think a lot of us who haven't been doing a lot of stuff outside, our homes, are feeling this way, and that's okay. I'm fine with it. I just I would rather talk about it than pretend it isn't real for me,
I found that, a few weeks ago I went to some Doxa documentary film festival events, and that was kind of my first foray in recent memory, socializing with many, random people.
Yeah.
And I found it to be utterly exhausting.
There's that too.
Going to one event for a couple of hours and talking to different people was so tiring. I was wiped out for a couple days after it. I couldn't, because it's just your mind is just having to think of oh, here's this person, I'm going to have a conversation with them, and what should we talk about? And just talking so much is so tiring. And, and just kind of the stimulation you get from seeing people you haven't seen in person for, 2 years or longer. And it just felt like a lot of overstimulation, and it was so tiring. So plan a lot of naps.
Well, that's a key part of any of my vacation travel now. The last 5 years has been naps.
Yes. Yeah.
So that feels doable. I can do that. But I mean, honestly, it's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be fine. I'm not really freaking out about it or anything. But
are you driving or flying?
We're driving.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was nice to like at least like G-chat with my friend from Halifax and have us both be like, you're feeling anxious, right? And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, oh God, me too. But like, it's such an opportunity because she lives in Halifax. The last time I saw her was when she came to Vancouver like 4 years ago. And when else are we necessarily going to have the opportunity to see each other again in the next like year or so? I have no idea. Like, who knows when the next time would be? So, you know, it's just like, you got to do it. You got to take the chances when you have them.
Have you been to Kelowna before?
My grandparents lived there for a few years, back when I was like 20. But I haven't been there at least in 10 years.
I've been there. My uncle lives there. I like going to Kelowna.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I do remember going to a lot of wineries when I would visit my grandma and my grandpa. He would always drive us, drop us off, and then pick us back up again.
Thus your wine love was born.
Yeah. God, actually, that was probably even 20 years ago because, like, that was... Oh, yeah, I forgot how old I was. Yeah. So it's been a while, but it's at least 10 years since I was last in Kelowna.
It's probably changed a lot.
That's what I've heard. I've heard it's changed quite a bit.
It's very big now.
Yeah, our friend of the pod, Sam Smith, who designed our logo, she moved up to Kelowna like 5 or 6 years ago. And so I have yet to visit her. So we're going to also visit her when we're up there.
And does she love it? Or how does she feel?
Yeah, like, well, she was born and raised there. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And can I just interject here with...
Yes, please.
The last time we saw Sam, she told us that she is working for Jillian Harris.
Yes.
The famous designer.
Bachelorette.
Personality, Bachelorette and everything. And yeah, she is a part of designing the Jilly Box experience. And I just like had a little bit of a freak out because I was like, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. Is she still doing that?
Yeah,
that's
she
her
does
job.
that right now.
See, I had never heard of it, and AG lost her damn mind. and then as we talked more about it, I was like, well, this does sound exciting. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Wow. Well, I think you're going to have a good time in Kelowna.
I think so, too. I think it's going to be really nice, and I think it'll just be fun. And Carlos and I are going up a day early even, so, like, we'll have, I don't know, just a bit of extra time, and that'll be kind of pleasant. And we're staying right across from a beach.
Check that the passes aren't snowy, though. It's been ridiculously cold and snowy.
Well, and super fun times. We just took off our winter tires like a week ago. So great timing.
Yeah.
Couldn't love it more. And fingers crossed that the passes are all fine.
Yes.
Yeah. It's, I mean, you know, it's, who knows?
You have to be hopeful. Like every time you're about to watch a rom-com, you have to keep your hopes up.
And every time you say yes and walk down the aisle, you have to be hopeful.
Yes. Even if it's 4 or 5 times.
Just like J-Lo / Kat Valdez.
Yeah, 6, 7, 8
tell the
times,
difference?
whatever. Who knows?
Who knows? Who's
uncomfortably so. You can't tell the difference on certain levels with this film. All right, I'm Andrea Warner.
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
I'm Andrea Gin.
And you're listening to Pop This. And yeah, you guessed it. Bride month, wedding month,
Woo-hoo!
Whatever month.
And we haven't had to double up yet over these many years doing Bride Month.
Never. I mean, honestly.
Which tells you how many wedding movies there are out there.
God, so many wedding movies. There's, you know what? This one is new. Feels super old on some level.
I know. I totally didn't realize that until I was like, yeah, we're doing a classic J-Lo. Like I thought it was just one I never.
Well, it's because her clothes never change. It's hard to tell.
Honestly, so many outfits are so good.
And then I looked it up and it was like, oh, this just came out earlier this year. That's really shocking.
Well, you can't tell by looking at Owen Wilson and J-Lo what
No.
year it is. There's no way to be able to tell.
Nope.
I'm going to be
Nope.
mean. I think you can tell looking at Owen Wilson what year it is.
Well,
Sorry.
okay, here we go.
Ouch.
Ouch. Sorry.
Sorry. He's had enough work to look like Ellen. Anyway, Marry Me is a 2022 American romantic comedy drama film directed by Kat Quira with a screenplay by John Rogers, Tammy Sager, and Harper Dill. Based on the 2012 graphic novel of the same name by Bobby Crosby. It stars Jennifer Lopez as Kat Valdez, a pop star who decides to marry Charlie Gilbert, played by Owen Wilson, a math teacher, holding a Marry Me sign after learning her onstage partner, Bastian, played by Maluma, has been having an affair. Honestly, that sentence is perfect. John Bradley, Sarah Silverman, and Chloe Coleman also star in supporting roles. Marry Me premiered in Los Angeles on February 9th, 2022. Happy Valentine's Day. The film received mixed reviews from critics, grossing over $50 million against a production budget of $23 million. So honestly, yet another huge success for J-Lo.
Yeah, exactly. Mixed reviews, hey? I guess that's the best, mixed seems like a compliment. Okay, and who wants to take on the synopsis of this charmer?
I can.
Okay.
Kat Valdez is half the sexiest celebrity power couple on Earth, capital E Earth, with hot new music supernova Bastian. As Kat and Bastian's inescapable hit single Marry Me climbs the charts, they are about to be wed before an audience of their fans in a ceremony that will be streamed across multiple platforms. Divorced high school math teacher Charlie Gilbert has been dragged to the concert by his daughter Lou and his best friend. When Kat learns seconds before the ceremony that Bastian has cheated on her with an assistant, her life turns left as she has a meltdown on stage, questioning love, truth, and loyalty. As her gossamer world falls away, she locks eyes with a stranger, a face in the crowd. If what you know lets you down, then perhaps what you know is the answer. What you don't know is the answer. And so
is the answer?
is the answer. And so in a moment of inspired insanity, Kat chooses to marry Charlie. What begins as an impulsive reaction evolves into an unexpected romance.
I did not see that coming, I have to say.
But as forces conspire to separate them, the universal question arises. Can two people from such different worlds bridge the gulf between them and build a place where they both belong? See Exhibit A, Notting Hill.
Yeah. See all rom-coms.
I guess that is the universal question. If you pluck a man from obscurity as a famous woman, can you possibly ever escape a speech in which he tells you, I want you to just try doing stuff alone, but I don't mean alone without me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the creepiest scene outside of when Owen Wilson's character then says, I mean, I don't want to count on getting lucky, but it seems like I'm going to have the best night of my life. I could not believe this movie, and yet, damn it.
Here it is.
I liked parts of it quite a bit. And I also could not believe that it made me wish that Matthew McConaughey was cast in this damn thing.
Oh, wow.
But that would have, wow.
You are a known Matthew McConaughey
hater.
Yeah.
And you even would have cast him over it.
Honestly, I swear to God, you guys, I used to like Owen Wilson a lot, and I'm probably still doing other stuff. But just what a sack of skin shows up to this movie. Like, he doesn't even have the temerity to seem like... I just could not believe the performance he turned in. And that J-Lo, yet again, is stuck in this role of dealing with a man who does not deserve her. How dare this movie already take from her life and then do this to her in the casting? This is bull. I am so mad at this movie, and I also like it a lot in certain places.
Sorry you had me, or you lost me at sack of skin. But
It Like, could you believe it? Like,
no.
I feel the same way you do, but to me, the biggest offense of this movie is the central song "Marry Me," which gets played over and over and over again. I just like it's insultingly. The lyrics are so insultingly bad. I just like I can't believe that like they treat the audience like we're a bunch of idiots that will accept like these sentiments in a song as like a like something that we can get on board with for this movie.
This is why there's an element of this movie that I think is like just satire, and it somehow missed the mark. It's supposed to comment on celebrity culture, on the streaming reality and social media, on the sort of like craven ineptitude of the certain pop machine and fame and
is that what it was doing?
I think it's supposed to. I think they think maybe that they can,
also
but no.
They also have a million product placements in the movie at the same time while doing this.
Well, but that's why I was thinking like maybe they're going for a bit of a Josie and the Pussycats kind of thing, like commentary on it, but they're not smarter than Josie and the Pussycats because they don't lean into that at all. And that would never be the kind of movie J-Lo would make. J-Lo was making a movie where she got to be a character who shows up and says, they never give me enough credit for what I do. They always strip it away from me. She's in a different movie.
Yeah.
Like, truly.
Yeah.
I mean, it was uncomfortable. Like, in certain places, you felt like she thought this was her chance to be in The Bodyguard and do so many incredible Whitney Houston-style, like, vocal performances. That's not J-Lo's voice. She's not capable of that. Love her for it. Love what she does. But she knows. But somehow.
So many hats, too. So many hats.
A lot of hats.
She really loves hats.
I know.
She really, really loves hats. I'm sorry.
The movie succeeds, as it always does in J-Lo films, with her wardrobe, her character's wardrobe. Loved it. Every outfit was spectacular, what you expect. Yeah.
It was a bit much to go to the semi-formal in, but
honestly, if you
I'm not going to judge a woman's wardrobe.
Show up in an outfit to a teen semi-formal that requires a bunch of different body tape. Love it. Yeah. Great choice.
Honestly, I just love the idea that it's a J-Lo movie, so that's what it. Regardless, it doesn't really matter what the story is, who else is in it. It is a J-Lo movie. That's what's important.
But I think it's starting to matter who else is in it because we want more for her. Like, it was like the thing that was so great about the movie that she did with Constance Wu. The name is falling out of my head. About the exotic dancers who pulled the scheme. Hustlers. Mm-hmm. So the thing that's so great about Hustlers is that the entire cast is wonderful.
Yes.
And J-Lo, is so great on her own. But even when you're great on your own, being surrounded by greatness makes you better. And everyone in this movie is in a different movie. Like Michelle Buteau and her assistant character, Sarah Silverman, I don't know what she's I love her, but I don't know what she's doing, The kid is great, but also still in a different movie. Everyone's not in the same movie. So the reason I think that maybe my satire reading could be sort of one of the sort of intentions of the film, but then it got waylaid and remade into a rom-com more classically because there's 3 writers, is when we have her performance. Honestly, I love this performance. When she's doing her performance of the song Church before she gets to the Marry Me portion, and it's all of these different backup dancers in black latex nun costumes, and it's all the choreography and the words. It's I thought it was inspired. Yeah. I loved it. It was ridiculous. It's over the top. It's so silly. And I thought that that's where we're getting this commentary. This is starting to happen. It's starting to come through. Cool. And then And then we get this thing where she, finds out that her love of her life is cheating on her with her assistant, and, classic whatever. She has her meltdown on stage, marries a stranger, doesn't even know his
hasn't
name.
had that. So relatable. So relatable.
I mean, honestly, so relatable.
Yeah. Also, can I just say here, did the theater in which they were getting married seem very small to you compared to what you were expecting? Like, I was expecting them to be in a huge stadium where I
think they tried to make it look like a huge stadium.
I think because later on, Bastian's playing Madison Square Gardens.
Yeah. Like, I thought that's where they would get married, but it seemed like a small, intimate theater, and I was confused.
No, I think that they were trying to convey that it was a huge stadium, but they didn't have the shooting budget to like do it on that level, because it is supposed to be a large stadium because there's several tiers, and they're on like the floor and it's concrete and stuff, and but anyway, sorry. So then she goes home after, and she's like, she has to make this horrible speech, J-Lo as Kat Valdez, about how like she just can never get it right, and why does she always pick the wrong guy? And then she has to cry on her manager's shoulder. And in that moment, and granted, I had a drink and an edible, so I was a little, there could be some reasons why I have more capacity for affection for this film. But like, I was genuinely like, oh no, this feels too real for like J-Lo. This feels too real. I am uncomfortable. They filmed this before her and Ben got back together, and just as A-Rod was cheating on her and that was ending. This is awkward.
It was, I feel like it was distracting throughout the movie to try and like think like, what is real from J-Lo's life in here, and what like what is the part of the fiction? Yeah, that was a distraction.
Yeah, it didn't feel good.
No, I don't think anything about this movie felt good. I think both of you are extremely charitable, and I'm the big rom-com. Like, that's one of my top genres.
Do you like J-Lo rom-coms in general?
Yes, I do generally. We weren't big on what was the one we did not care for though with Ralph Fiennes? Made in Manhattan.
Well, she's great, and
she's great.
I like Made in Manhattan.
Like, the movie's good. It's just that he's not great.
I mean, I know Out of Sight isn't actually a rom-com. In my mind, it is a rom-com, though. And to me...
Like, in some people's eyes, it's a rom-com for sure.
To me, Out of Sight will always be the best rom-com, and I will die on that hill.
Certainly a meet cute.
At least she got George Clooney in that one. But
at least.
This was... And I'm with you. I usually like Owen Wilson, but there was nothing to celebrate here. Nothing to make someone change their entire life for, to suddenly be interested in math. No, it did not work.
Well, I mean, they try to sort of frame it as like she already has a general sort of interest in math, and they already have like a few little things in common, even though they're so different. But like, I just was very frustrated. And I guess at least her character kind of kept calling him out on it, as just like, he wants to tell her all the things that he perceives as being wrong with her life and like her things. And she keeps countering back like, well, then like, you have things you have to change too. Like, you actually have to like sort of try these things before you are so judgmental about them. But I guess like it at the so we like, he agrees to do this press conference. He is being, kind of like resistant. He's like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do this. And then he gets out in front of a room full of reporters and just suddenly turns it on like that. We don't see anything about why he has found himself called to like step up to this moment in any way, shape, or form.
That's
like,
true.
There's just no reason for it other than like, obviously this man is maybe unwell. Because he got up on stage. He married a stranger.
You're on fire tonight.
And then suddenly, on stage in front of all these people, they're like, he's like, oh, I guess I'm gonna get an iPhone, and okay, yeah, I can do this. Like, this is like his.
No, it makes no sense.
And then he does like one thing where he like goes and listens to her record a song and he's like, oh, can I stay and hang out? And like, that's it. He's smitten, kitten. And that's her indication. A man wants to just listen to her once in a while, and that's enough for this woman, this goddess of a woman, to fall head over heels.
Is this the part you're wondering if it's the real life J-Lo? Because it strikes me as yes.
Well, Wesley Morris wrote a great piece about this in the New York Times, and I just want to read what a quote from it.
Oh, good. I love Wesley Morris, by the way. Sorry.
I keep referring to her and Kat as entertainers. He's talking about J-Lo, which of course they are. But what Lopez performs here, which she's frequently performing, is the business of entertainment. She's the star as executive, and all she often lets us see is execution. Kat's truest friend is her manager, an efficient Englishman whom John Bradley plays with persuasive concern. Kat and Charlie don't meet much of each other's families, and the movie denies them any chance to explore the weirdness of this relationship. He's something Kat must do, although not carnally, never that. We just get a morning after in which he's long removed herself from his bed and is taking work calls, which is fine. But don't call this love when all we see is task management.
Oh, well said.
Yeah, like this movie shows us a woman who is very, very good at the business of living a life and a job and an empire. When we get these speeches about believing in love and the hope, et cetera, and we hear it in the songs she writes. They're not terribly good songs, that's fine.
What do you mean? They went right up to the charts and beat out all those other fictional bands.
I mean, she's selling her life or like a version of her life 24/7. Like it's very real to me, honestly, that like Kofi follows her around documenting everything. Like I think there's elements here that sort of recall what we think of as sort of, she's kind of like a low rent Beyonce in this movie, which is Beyonce is never going to like shill for Vitamix and have her cutout of her in the front of the store so that her estranged married husband can look at her longingly when he passes by the window with his sad dog. But that's what she does. Like Kat Valdez, that's the kind of, she's everywhere. He has seen her on a billboard. He has seen a cutout of her in a Vitamix store, and he saw her on the side of a bus. In the world of this movie, that's ubiquity. It's wild. The budget ass ubiquity of this film is wild. I guess, it did make double its budget, so it makes sense, but still.
Yeah. Well, that was our sad montage. So there's only so many sad montage scenes you can see. You can only do 3, I guess. That's it.
I do really like that dog. Tank is great. He gives a performance of a lifetime.
It does. Absolutely.
But, so what do you think of J-Lo's like return to the rom-com genre? Do you think she's gonna like save rom-coms and bring back the rom-com?
Not this way.
Not this way. No. I think she could if there was something interesting, some different kind of, like, I don't understand why this particular idea of the famous person because we've seen it before. Notting Hill, I guess, as you both mentioned, seems positively Oscar-worthy in comparison to this movie.
I think you can do a version of like famous woman falls for basic, like that's fine. Like I think that's a very classic sort of type of story for a rom-com. Mm-hmm. And you can do it and you can do it well. It just, this is not.
You need a better story. You need some kind of, there were no quirks. I like a rom-com that's going to have something quirky in it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I think that's like what Wesley Morris is getting at. They don't lean into the weirdness of this setup.
Yeah.
There's no awkwardness. Like it's awkward, but only because clearly Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson don't ever actually want to really be standing next to each other. Like that's, she tries. Like I honestly think she tries so hard. She could have chemistry with anybody. Owen Wilson looks like he's there as like a hostage negotiator. Like
Yeah.
I don't know why
it was very
said yes
stiff.
to this.
And I guess that, I mean, the weird part to me is why would you hire Owen Wilson if you didn't want Owen Wilson? Like the reason we like him, what he's good at. And then strip it down and take all of that out of him. All the charm, all that quirky, all that funny, all the things that made The Wedding Crashers so great. I don't know if either of you like The Wedding Crashers, but I do.
I mean, I liked it back in the day. It hasn't held up that well. I'll say I did watch it a few years ago. It hasn't held up that well, but like I liked it back in the day.
Yeah.
But so who do you think like is a good leading man in a J-Lo rom-com? Like, do you think Ralph Fiennes was better?
No.
Because like
George
this is
Clooney.
kind of a reverse Made in Manhattan. Like
to a certain extent, yeah, minus like the actual like.
Flip.
I think Matthew
interesting
McConaughey
social-
would have been absolutely perfect. He's not going to do this now, but no, actually, I shouldn't say that. You never know with that guy. You don't know what
He's been in
should.
movies with Ben Affleck and Gigli and Jersey Girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean that's the thing. Like I don't want her to do it with anybody that she has already done movies with in the past. Like I think, oh my god, you know who should be great? She'd be great with. Sorry.
A fresh unknown?
No, not necessarily a fresh unknown, but I think like I think she could do a great work with Oscar Isaac. Like I think the two of them would just like smolder on screen together, and I think that they would be like super fun. I think even like I know that Mahershala Ali hasn't done like a ton of comedy, but I think he could do this kind of like rom-com like with her and like sort of in this moment. Her and like Kumail Nanjiani, they could do like some good work together.
Fun.
They could have like a really nice vibe together.
Yeah.
Like I just think that she just deserves. Honestly, like oh my god, I would love to see her and Simu Liu in a rom-com together. Like, can you imagine how sassy and sexy that would be? Like, I know that he's younger than her, but like it could do some real cool like May December stuff. Like I like that a lot. I just think there's like so many options for her that.
So I'm looking at her upcoming films, and she's got a film coming out in 2023 called Shotgun Wedding, a rom-com action film.
Oh, thank God.
And her leading man is Josh Duhamel.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, it's similar, but it's not. Yeah.
He's Matthew McConaughey light. That's the worst part.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and I like Josh Duhamel, like, fine. Like, I remember watching him on, like, All My Children in, like, the early 2000s or late 90s or whatever. Like he's okay, but she deserves better co-stars than this.
I don't think she wants somebody who's like, I mean, like I said, you could have had Owen Wilson acting like Owen Wilson, and that's fun. And I just saw him in the new Wes Anderson, so he still knows how to be Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
They didn't want that. And so I don't think she's asking for leading men. I think she's asking for lesser men.
I think she's being advised wrong if that's the case, you know? Like
I don't know if she gets advice. I think she gives advice.
But she signed up for Hustlers and again like surrounded herself with like but surrounded herself with like a really strong cast. Like I just think she's so smart. She does want the best. I just think like she in the same way that Kat Valdez said, "Why do I always pick the worst guys?"
Why do I always pick the worst movies?
Oh, well, why do I always pick the worst guy co-stars? Like she must. You're right. She's a big name. She's a player in all this. She must have a bit of sign off on who's opposite her.
Yeah, I think she does.
Like, there's just so much better that could be happening. Like, but that's why I do think there's like, 25% of this film might have been intended to be like a satire and critique of the entertainment industry as it stands in this moment. They just did not follow through. I would be so interested to know about the writing, and like there's 3 writers credited, but how many uncredited writers are there on it? And how many rewrites did this go through?
Yeah. I think that's a fair question.
Like the behind the scenes of this? Fascinating.
Because there is something really, I mean, the way they just play along with the fact that she married some random man in the audience who doesn't even know who she is definitely ripe for satire, for sure.
Yeah.
but the way they play it is just that it was a meet cute is very weird.
It's the most like kind of distressing meet cute I've ever seen.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like outside of a meet cute where like your gynecologist is telling you that, you know, you need to go for a biopsy, this was the most distressing meet cute I've ever seen. Like that.
Yeah, and I've never watched 24 Hour Fiancé or whatever it's called, but I can imagine it's similar to this.
Yeah. I haven't watched it either, but yeah, I just...
Also, I found it distressing watching her having to run through the airport in those stilettos. Because I was like, oh my God, her feet.
It was so cruel. So cruel.
That must be so painful.
How long is that flight, too, between New York and Peoria, Illinois? Was it that long?
It can only be 2 hours max.
Like, yeah. Yeah, and she couldn't find a coat, like not even in the airport, like the whole...
I mean, there's a lot of things. Like, honestly, at the 45-minute mark, I was like, I can't believe there's still another 45 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, it was a long movie, too, by the way. Over 2 hours. Just
Just a lodge that complaint from Lisa.
Yeah.
Gotta make sure that gets in.
Unnecessary half
Rom-coms don't need to be that long.
They do not.
They don't.
In and out.
90 is perfect.
Yeah.
95 if you got to have like a sort of tag on thing at the end. Did like, but like, didn't it seem as if there were just like a lot of questions about like, what is this school? Like, why is this guidance counselor harassing children, bullying children, and like
inappropriately making out with some of the other teachers?
The band teacher,
yeah.
What is happening here? Like,
and the band teacher knows her B-side on guitar. Like that was a big stretch too.
I mean, he was a huge fan, Lisa.
That's
huge fan. Actually, one of the things that
what was her plan though before going up?
Oh, I know.
She was gonna sing that a cappella.
Yeah.
Just a cappella. Well, that was actually one of Carlos's questions. He was like, okay, let's do the math. She's north of 35, quote unquote, as she's been described. And this song she wrote, she says, when she was just a couple years older than these high school children. So this song, allegedly early 2000s, you know? Mm-hmm. He was arguing that there's no way it made sense as a song from the early 2000s. I argued that I think it could have like some comparison to early Nelly Furtado. So like it could stand up, like it could be fine, especially the acapella version. But like, I gotta say, I think he's right. Like, I mean, there's the timing of this movie and the sort of like trying to create songs that are era appropriate. Rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
would have been more fun if she was a folk singer, wouldn't it?
I mean, the thing I didn't understand. So we watched like the after credits.
I watched the credits too.
Yeah. So the song that her in, or I don't know if it's like her. I don't know if it's J-Lo or it's Kat Valdez who's supposed to be. So I don't know if it's J-Lo and Maluma or Kat Valdez and Bastian. But the song that they do that plays later in the credits that like just has, I don't know. It's so much more interesting and it's such a better song. And it actually feels contemporary. Whereas like that Marry Me song, particularly when they move it into ballad version, is a nightmare.
Yeah.
When they get to the thing where they just ma at each other. That was not good.
It's so bad. It's so comically bad.
But I have a question for both of you then. Because both of you said there were parts you liked. What in particular did you actually like?
Oh, yeah. So I personally loved J-Lo's performance throughout the whole thing. I think she's doing so much work here. Like everything from her like fake eyelashes to her like strained smile, having to try and elicit some, like, you believe that Kat has fallen for this guy, even if it doesn't make sense to you. And I think that's all J-Lo. Like, there is no earthly reason that after that man says to her, I'm going to have the greatest night of my life, that she should then have sexual intercourse with him.
No, especially since it's a man with a child. That should not be something you say.
Well, it's also just gross the way he presumes that they have one dance and that means he's going to get laid. I understand he's speaking to his wife, but icky. And I just, like, they've had one kiss at this point, and he just assumes that a dance is going to automatically lead to sex. Like, did he grow up in Footloose? No. Like, he just, come on. Like, this, and then
how about, and some chemistry, just a tad of chemistry. There was zip.
And then she decides, no, she likes the Robert Goulet track. Okay, fine. Robert Goulet, what a voice. But is that going to be the voice that gets Kat Valdez to be like, yeah, I like this. This is for me.
I think it was the wrist corsage that did it, actually.
I mean, classic. Anyway, so I just think, like, Jennifer Lopez is working so hard in this movie.
Yeah.
And is delivering over and over and over again. Again, I like the kid. I thought the kid who played Lou is great. I really like the dog.
Wow, you're really, really working at this.
And actually, no, like, I'm going to be, like, seriously, I enjoyed Maluma as Bastian. I thought he plays kind of like a bit of a dirtbag really, really well. And he does have a pretty voice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I liked him.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the thing that enabled me to continue watching this movie to the end is...
Outside of obligation to the podcast?
Yeah.
That's why I finished it. Because I watched half of it on an airplane. Half.
Wow.
Also, side note, you tricked me into watching another musical movie. You never once mentioned this is full of music.
Yeah.
I didn't know she was going to try and do her own A Star is Born. Sorry.
But just the idea that, like, of how much of this is based around Jennifer Lopez's actual life and just trying to figure that out while you're watching the movie. And that to me, I kind of like her playing with her own image. But yeah, that's about the only thing. And her outfits, as I said, always stunning, always like perfectly J-Lo that we come to expect. But yeah, like I think that to me that was the only hook, is just like the wondering of like where the line is between Kat Valdez and Jennifer Lopez.
I wish you could ask her that.
I mean, I feel like it's something she sort of is talking about a little bit in interviews, or did a little bit in interviews, but like even back in February, you know, we knew that J-Lo and Ben Affleck were back together. Like Bennifer 2.0 was happening. Now they're engaged.
That was fast. He was engaged to that other one.
Yeah,
too,
can I hear both of your thoughts on Bennifer 2.0? Because I don't believe we've discussed this yet on the podcast.
I'm happy for them. But again, I think that this is just like another cool instance of J-Lo just not believing she deserves better.
I will quote the poets of the Death Cab for Cutie and say, "This is the sound of settling." Ba, ba,
Yes.
ba, ba.
Yeah.
Because I'm confused. I don't know what's happening.
It's a PR dream.
Is this a PR
thing? Two people that
or...
really value their careers very highly. I'm sure it's not horrible to be with them, but I'm sure it was put to them that this would definitely be a win. So I definitely feel vibes of that, because there were too many pretend paparazzi pictures to make it believable. If you don't want to be seen, you weren't seen. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, I followed, kind of, because I listened to Who Weekly. I followed in the early part of the pandemic the banana of it all, Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas.
Yeah.
And so obviously I watched that weird relationship unfold in paparazzi shots of dog walking and Dunkin' Donuts coffee. And when it ended, and then he immediately somehow ended up like a few months later, back with J-Lo, and her engagement to A-Rod had ended after he also he cheated on her too. Like, I think there's an element to this that, yeah, it does have a nice story to it. I don't think, maybe I'm naive. Maybe I am also one of those wildly hopeful people who doesn't, I can't imagine a world in which Jennifer Lopez chooses just the story over like her actual like investment in the fantasy of romance. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like she did absolutely like her best with the first version of Ben, and then he went and married Jennifer Garner, and then we watched him sort of slow roll out of that moving car disaster because of his various
the nanny is what you're trying to say.
Substance abuse disorders and his like affairs and whatnot and all kinds of things. And you know, it doesn't, I can, like, Ben Affleck is kind of compelling in his own way. Like, I can understand people's attraction to him. I can understand this sort of idea of him being someone that requires care in that very classic gendered sort of like women.
Is it the
love
Phoenix
to take
tattoo
care
on
of.
his back that makes you think that?
It's the Phoenix tattoo on the back that makes
Yeah.
me realize, you know, this is a man who doesn't just have a lower back tattoo. He has an epic back accident.
Yeah.
And I know he needs the love of a quote unquote good woman. Anyway, or like, I don't know, maybe like a cool dude or a cool non-binary person. I don't know what Ben Affleck needs. But all this to say, it's kind of fun that J-Lo and Ben Affleck are back together. I don't care that much, but it is fun gossip, and it is good, fun nostalgia gossip. And it makes sense sort of in terms of like where we are in this world at this moment.
Wow. Okay. This is like a TED Talk now. Here, this is
truly like as we
benefit of the TED Talk.
This is Andrea Warner's TED Talk.
Yeah.
as we repeat a lot of conversations that were happening in the early 2000s. Of course, we get the great romance of that time rearing back its ugly head again.
Yeah.
Do you think that this one sticks for Jennifer Lopez?
No.
Oh no.
No.
No. I don't even know if they'll get married.
This is rebounds for both of them.
Yeah.
I mean, they might make it down the aisle, but no, this is...
Yeah, no, I don't.
They both
I
have...
don't see that.
Like, I can't even imagine being as wildly famous as either of them. I don't think it seems hard to make it normal. You know
I really don't think she's
be normal.
Just normal Jenny from the block. I've always thought she was a little bit more. And I think that it's hard for somebody to satisfy, as it should be. As we've said, she deserves the sun, the star, and the moons. We love her.
Yeah.
She gives all she's got. And I don't know, Ben. I think that my favorite Ben is just that picture of him after having that cigarette outside that door. I think that's the real Ben. And,
well, that's, like, talk about speaking to the zeitgeist of a certain period of time.
Yeah.
That photo.
I am done.
Truly.
Also made a ton of people probably take up smoking again, going, oh, I remember that feeling. Oh.
Yeah, I'm a busted dude from Boston, and I'm never going to be free. That's... I mean, I hope that it all works out nicely for them. Yeah, cool, great. I just want, like, I don't know. I want J-Lo to... I do think that, like, when Kat Valdez does talk about that credibility, we've talked about J-Lo not really getting the credit she deserves. Lainey Gossip has talked a lot about that. Like, there's all sorts of different places where we've talked about J-Lo has fame, but she doesn't really get talked about in the same breath as other people who are similarly of her stature and celebrity and just, there's still so much talk all the time about how she doesn't like sing anything that she allegedly sings, and she doesn't do this, and she's defined by the men in her life, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, you make a movie like this, it's your chance to comment on it, but if you don't get smarter writers, all it feels is uncomfortably real, like too real, cringe too real in certain places. Yeah, I mean, I hope that if she does find her own Owen Wilson in the future, it's someone slightly better than Owen Wilson.
Yeah, but I also was reflecting on just like her career has spanned decades, like from the 90s until now, and she's never really had a period where she's been unpopular or not in movies or taken a break or anything like that. She's just like worked straight through releasing movies and albums.
Vegas residency.
Yeah, like it's impressive, and I can't think of really anybody else who's just for so long just been in the public eye and just been working and working and working.
It's like a Kardashian. Madonna.
Oh, it is similar to a Kardashian. Madonna is like that, and I think she's set kind of a stage for that. And I do think like J-Lo, like Madonna has.
But J-Lo's been in like way more movies than Madonna.
Yeah, but Madonna's had much better reviews for the most part. Like Madonna, again, but again, both women also are constantly discredited too. Yeah. Despite the amount of work that they do, and it's just always so like, it's just always interesting to me. Oh, and we talk about this all the time, is that there aren't sort of necessarily like male equivalents to J-Lo and Madonna who are talked about with the same sort of like disparaging quality, and who are those triple threats in so many ways, like.
You just sound disappointed now.
I am. Yeah. Disappointed in society. Always.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you watch Marry Me. Just a little warning out there for everybody. It's not going to fill you with a warm glow, that's for sure.
Yeah, I got to say, there's elements of this film that pop, but it's not a full, it's like a quarter pop for me.
No pop from me.
It's a quarter pop for me, I guess.
Wow.
Just because of J-Lo.
Exactly.
Okay, I mean, there's that, but even that makes me sad because she can do better. So
that's okay.
Why I'm
You're
giving
allowed
it
to
no
have
pops.
no pops.
No pops.
No pops, Lisa.
No pops.
Cool. That's okay. We do like to leave our episodes on things we do heartily endorse. So, Lisa, do you want to go first?
Sure. So I've only recently come to learn about the series of books called the Copenhagen Trilogy by Danish poet and writer Tove Ditlevsen. And apparently they became quite popular during the pandemic. They're very, very sad and tragic and full of gloom and pessimism. And so that was the spirit of the pandemic, and they took off again. So the writer herself, she died in 1976 from suicide. She was 58. She was born in 1917 in Vesterbro, Copenhagen, Denmark. So it's about her. The Copenhagen Trilogy is a series of 3 different books about her life. So as a childhood, and the middle years, and then later years in her life. So if you're looking for something that is dark and depressing, there you go. That's what you want, the Copenhagen Trilogy.
Wow. Thank you.
Maybe
gripping.
not right now.
Yeah.
Gripping endorsements.
Yes.
AG, how about you?
I wanted to recommend a podcast, one of Nicole Byer's productions called Newcomers. It's co-hosted with Lauren Lapkus, who
it's very funny.
Yeah, it's very, very funny. And right now, this season, they're doing the Marvel universe, but last year they did Fast and Furious franchise, which
they sure did. With guest host
to.
John Gabris. Lauren Lapkus was off having a baby.
Yeah, and it's funny. So my recommendation is that you commit to watching the entire franchise and following it along with this podcast because it's so funny.
Yeah, it's great.
That is a recommendation. Wow.
I second that. AG, we haven't even talked about the devastating fact that Justin Lin walked away from the new Fast and Furious.
Oh, I know.
I'm so worried for what this means. And I'm sad. It sucks. Anyways. Okay.
Agreed.
And off topic. I am recommending an album that came out in 2021. I don't believe I've recommended it before, but I apologize if I have. If I have, I'll owe you two next time. This is called Outside Child by Alison Russell. It's her debut album, even though she has been a musician for like over 20 years. She was in a group called Poe Girl, Birds of Chicago, and she's also been in Our Native Daughters. And it just won a Juno Award. It was nominated for a Grammy. It's nominated for a bunch of Americana awards. It's so beautiful, you guys. Like it really is truly beautiful. The New York Times described it as, quote, a harrowing story of survivor's joy. And Alison said herself that, quote, the record itself isn't really about abuse. It's about the journey out of that and breaking those cycles. It's about resilience, survival, transcendence, the redemptive power of art, community connection, and chosen family. And it's just, Alison went through a really harrowing childhood. And this record is really like sort of the first time where she's truly like writing to that and speaking to themes of that survivor's joy, as the New York Times said. But also the music is just exquisite, and it's such a beautiful record, and it's just like a record that has changed her life, like being truly authentic to herself and like being like telling her story and like having this happen for her now in her like very early 40s after 20 years. It's huge. And now she has a book coming out next year, and just a lot of things happening. And like,
and in the latest Vanity Fair.
She's in the latest Vanity Fair?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Tressie McMillan Cotton profile, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, she's wonderful. I love her so much. And Outside Child is just a brilliant record.
It's fantastic.
I will give it a go.
Thank you, everyone, for listening and hanging out with us. You can hang out with us online, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You could email us at popthiscollective@gmail.com. And you could rate and review us 5 stars.
5 stars. Thanks for listening, and thanks to Andrea Gin, our co-host and our producer here. And it's always a pleasure to spend time with you and make, hopefully, an episode better than a movie. So there we go.
Well, I can honestly say all three of us probably laughed more in this making of this episode than in watching that movie.
Very true. Highly true. Yes.
And we didn't have to run through an airport in stilettos.
Yay! So. Again.
Thank God. Ugh, so tired of that.
So tired.
I break like a pair of stilettos every step. It's really tragic.
You're gonna have to start meeting men that will like not make you have to chase after them in airports. Just a thought.
Can you just even like imagine like chasing after a man? Hilarious. Anyway. Thanks all.
Thanks. Bye.